Thank you so much for tuning into my video. Sawadee ka, greetings from Thailand. So, it's been a while since I've made a video. I just wanted to sit down and make just, like what hopefully will be a quick video. Now, before I jump in today's video, I just want to make a trigger warning that in today's video, we're going to be talking about themes that are related to violence and related to ABUSE. Now, in no way am I trying to speak ill of a cultural practice. In no way am I trying to speak ill of any group. But I wanted to make this video just to talk about something that happened specifically to me. It's also important for me to note that in this video, I'm only speaking from the context of my experience, and not all people from my cultural group, not all Xhosa people, not all South Africans, and certainly not all Africans have this happen to them. It is very, very unique, and there are some people who probably have had wonderful experiences with this particular ceremony. So I just wanted to unpack my personal experience, and so let's jump into it. So, for those that don't know, I come from a family of sangomas. Now, a sangoma, or inyanga, is an African traditional healer, a medicine man, a medicine woman, or often known as a witch doctor. I come from a family of a long line of sangomas, medicine women, medicine men, and witch doctors. So I grew up really being exposed to African spirituality in a way that the average African child who did not have a family member or a parent would not have. So my mom was about, I don't know, she was in her 30s. I would have been about 7 or 8 when she started her initiation process. But even before that, as kids, we were taking part in rituals and ceremonies. Now, the first ceremony that you do as a Xhosa child is basically an introduction to the ancestors. When you're born and you're a baby, they cut a bit of your umbilical cord off, and there's a ceremony where you are introduced to the ancestors. Now, in my culture, we believe in constant communication with the ancestors, both those that walk in light and those that walk in darkness. We believe that the ancestors are really our link to God, to the universe, and a lot of our practices are centered around ancestral worship. Now, when I was 5 years old, there was a certain ceremony that took place. Now, let me first explain what the ceremony is. There's something called ukapula. Now, ukapula is it's a ceremony that is done in order to protect someone. A sangoma, or an African traditional healer, will take a blade and basically cut you in different parts of your body. Now, more often than not, people are cut here, here just above their, just here on their hand, sometimes here on the cheek, and sometimes on the chin. It does depend on the specific tribe that you're in, but this type of mutilation is common in African cultures. I have to say, though, that it's more common amongst more traditional African families and more rural African families. Not all Black South Africans experience this, please. Now, someone might ask themselves, oh my gosh, why would you take part in a ceremony where you are cut, and why would you allow this? There's a very good reason. Now, the belief is that when a consenting adult makes the decision to get to ukapulwa, that they are basically being marked by the ancestors. They're being marked and they are protected. I later found out that the whole concept or idea of ukapulwa, marking someone, is sort of like temporary protection for that person. So if someone were going through a very difficult time, this ceremony would be done under those circumstances. Now, this is not how it happened in my family. This is not how it happened when I was growing up. So that's how it should happen. A consenting adult who's going through something would talk to a sangoma, an African traditional healer, and this ritual or ceremony might then be suggested. In my family, what happened was, I don't know, like it was, and in no way am I speaking ill of anyone in my family or any of the practices that take place in my cultural group. I'm only speaking about what happened to me. So at 5 years old, I went to the rural part of South Africa where my mother and all of her brothers and sisters had grown up. Now, we went up there every Christmas we would go there and visit family. Now, this Christmas was like any other Christmas. I get up there, I'm chilling out there and in the rural areas, chilling in the hut, doing Africa things, chilling out with family. Now, on this specific occasion, when the ceremony was done, we were not told that we were going to get mutilated or we were going to get cut. More often than not, if children are going to take part in this ceremony, they're not told because people understand that those kids are going to run away. So for this reason, me and my siblings, as well as, some of my cousins, not all, none of us were told. All I remember is this man who's an African traditional healer coming in wearing very, very intimidating African attire. Now, we had to line up. Tell me why this man pulls out blades, like literal blades. It's at this moment that I realize, or I pick up on the panic. Like, my cousins are crying, they're freaking out. And it was weird because at that moment I realized that none of the adults that were watching were going to stop what was happening. I realized that this was, a ceremony that we all had to do. And whether or not we were crying or whether or not we were silent, that blade was still going to run up on our skin regardless. We were still going to be part of that ceremony. Now, I have nothing against people making the decision to take part in that ceremony. If you're an adult and you want to do that to yourself, by all means, go do it. What I have an issue with is when children are pulled into these ceremonies are not explained to them. and there's no sort of aftercare. Like for me, what happened was we all lined up, and we got cut one by one, lack of a better word, and that was it. That was the end of it. We never talked about it again. It was understood that this was just a normal ceremony that we all had to take part in. It wasn't even explained what it was for. Now, I have an issue with this because whenever a ceremony like that is done, especially a ceremony that includes blood, because I mean, if let's be real, if you're calling out to spirits and blood is being released from your body, and there is some sort of prayer or something being said over you, you need to understand that is a ceremony, that is a blood ceremony, that is a ritual. And you need to be fully aware of what you are agreeing to, what you are energetically and spiritually signing yourself up to. Because if you are unaware and you do this type of ceremony with any type of resentment, with any type of fear, with any type of like pushback, it's not going to yield the results that it's supposed to. And it's going to leave the person traumatized. Girl, I know I was traumatized. While other little 5-year-olds were singing, I love you, you love me, I was singing, I hate you, you hate me, we're a toxic family with a great big jab and a cut from me from you. Don't you? Okay, no, that's not what I was singing, and that's terrible. But the point that I'm trying to make is, at 5 years old, when I should have been engaging in activities that were, age appropriate for a 5-year-old, like coloring in, or I don't know, doing things that I understood and things that I could consent to. I had no business making those type of spiritual connections. I had no business in taking part in any type of ritual if I didn't understand it. I am so proud of the fact that I come from a Xhosa background. I'm so proud of the fact that I come from a family of healers. I'm so proud of the fact I come from a family of Sangomas. Y'all, I thought I was supposed to be a Sangoma. I went through like the beginning stages of the process. I've never really talked about it because obviously it's something personal. But understand this. I have great respect for the culture. However, in having a respect for the culture, I still think it is important for us to question some of the practices. We need to ensure that we understand what we are doing. So many things are passed down on to us, and we don't even understand why we're doing them. There's so much that I could say about, the ceremony of Ukapula. We could look at it from all angles, from its history, where it came from, the purpose, why people think that, it's something that they want. And I could talk more about my experience, but all of that doesn't matter. What matters is that you understand this one thing. When you take part in any type of ceremony, or when a person takes part in any type of ceremony, that person has to choose to do so. That person needs to choose to do so and walk into that ceremony in a state of love and light, in order for spirit, in order for the ancestors that walk with us in love and light to bring about whatever blessings you're hoping to get from that ceremony. if you do so with any fear, with any kind of like pushback, like I said, it's gonna leave you traumatized and hurt. So I leave you with that. Know that in this spiritual path, in this spiritual journey, it's important that you are the one that's making decisions over, your spiritual journey. Regardless of what culture or background you come from and what practices they have, you need to always critically, look at the practices and ask yourself if you want to actually do them. And, if you do, you do it, girl. You do you. And if you don't, don't. Too many of us are doing too much in the spiritual community. Too many of us are doing too much. Too many of us are allowing too much to be done to us. Later in life, many, many, many years later. So I had the ceremony when I was like 5 or 6. Yeah, I was about 5 or 6. And many, many, many years later, in my 30s, in my early 30s, when I believed that I was called to become a Sangoma, an African traditional healer, when I believed that was my path and my journey, I sought advice from the elders in my family, specifically my mom and other healers within the community, and I had to, not had to, I was called to do the ceremony of Upapula again. Now, what's different about the second time that I did it is that I was in my 30s and I was making a decision to do it, and I had more understanding, and I knew that, when you do this kind of ceremony, it's kind of like to protect you for the moment. And I knew how to, during the ceremony, how to position my prayers. I knew how to connect with the ancestors that I wanted to connect with, i.e. the ancestors that walk with me in love and light. Because, when you do practices like this and ceremonies, it's not the actual practice of, like being cut or whatever, or whatever ceremony you're getting involved in. It's not the actual practice. It is the intention. It is the energy. And it is from that energy that whatever it is that you're trying to get from that ceremony comes into fruition. The protection that you think you are going to get from doing this said ceremony, you get it because of your intention. Alright, so you guys, I'm gonna stop the video there. I'm gonna end it right there. I want to thank you for listening. I want to encourage anyone who's on their spiritual journey. I know it's hard, but know that you're loved, you're supported, you're a divine part of the universe that is continually expressing itself. I want to send love and light to all of my two-spirited men and women, all of my trans men and women that are on their journeys. I send you light and love. I know that I don't often talk about my culture and spirituality, but it definitely is a big part of who I am, and I wanted to actually sit down and finally talk about this. If anything that I've said has hurt or offended anyone from the Xhosa community, know that that was never my intention. My intention was only to speak of my experience. Now, if anyone else has ever had this happen to them, please comment, let me know what your experience was. I send you so much light and love. Thank you so much for checking my channel out. I'm gonna talk to you guys later, alright? Okay, bye.